Hello and welcome to my presentation about Unit 2 character development. This slide shows the stages of my concept art. This idea is based on the horror survival theme we started with. The character I designed was called Kobe Paxton, who's trying to find fame by becoming a YouTube star by showcasing his parkour moves and urban exploring abandoned places. In the top left is a quick sketch I did for my character, very basics as I'm not the greatest drawer. The bottom left is a silhouette that I created in Photoshop using an image of a game character and with the magic wand tool to select around it and then filled it in black. The large image on the right is the final digital concept. I did this in Photoshop by drawing lines to define each section and then fill them with a colour using the burn tool to add highlights and shadows to the character, and then using the brush tool to add details onto the colour. In this slide, it's the block out. I used the default model from Mudbox and extruded from the body to get a rough design of the model. After this, I colour coded it, and I knew what each area was. On this slide, it shows you the low poly. I created the low poly by taking it into Mudbox and used the grab tool to define areas like the nose, the mouth, the eyes, the ears. After this, I brought it into Maya again and removed faces to create the mouth and eyes opening, and moved edges and vertexes around to get more of a natural look for my character. Then from the low poly, I created the UVs. I broke the model down into sections and used the planer tool and by selecting areas and pressing the planer board to make the UVs from that. Once all the areas were in the individual sections, so the front and back of the legs and arms and the chest, I selected the edge that connects, so it was the inside seams and that can't be seen. Then I would connect them by using the sew and move tool and then unfolding it and using the smooth tool on the UV shell. And this helps minimize seams on the model. In this slide shows some of the images I took of the sculpting stage. I increased the subdivisional level high and used the wax tool to add extra depth and detail to the character. Then I used displacement maps to add fine details such as skin, pores, wrinkles, clothes material, seams, anything that you can see in the pictures that's really fine detail is done by a displacement map. After this, I exported the normal maps from Mudbox so all my high detail would display on the low poly. In this slide, it gives an overview of the texturing I did on this character. I used Substance Painter to texture the model. In the images on the left shows the full body and the close-up of the hands. I used the polygon select tool to select parts of the model to paint. In the top right is the character's head. I tried to add stuff like blemishes on his face where the character would naturally be more red, like so cheeks, lips, under the eyes. Below is a quick sample of the texture map as with the normal map. I also created an AO map and a roughness map as well. On this slide shows the extra details that I put on the character. So I started off by creating the inside of the mouth and eyes, and it kind of looks like a weird Homer Simpson type thing. Then I created the mouth and teeth and the tongue, as you can see in the picture next to it. As I created this because I plan on doing speech animation later in the year on the unit for animation. Then I created half a sphere for the eyes and then low polygon eyelashes to go around the eyes. Then I also went into 3ds Max to create hair splines for Neofur plugins to use as guidelines for the hair, because it needs guidelines. Then on this slime, it's the look dev. It shows you the final look of the character after I imported it into Unreal Engine and added the materials to the model. And you can also see I added the near fur to the head, and it follows the guidelines that I made in the previous slide. And then after that, I created accessories once I finished the character. I created these because these were things I planned on using in the horror survival game. So a GoPro to record his parkour moves, and a flashlight for him to explore dark places in the abandoned urban buildings. So okay, now on to my NPC. There was a big change once I got to the NPC, as we started to do Unit 75, and I decided that I wanted to do a sci-fi game for next year. I plan on recycling the character that I've just created, keeping in the head and creating a new body to fit the description of the new brief. I'll be creating more of a sci-fi Star Trek outfit for him. For the NPC, to fit in my brief, I wanted to create a war machine to act as a friendly and enemy NPC, as my Unit 75 is about cyborgs that infect technology and organic matter and then take control of them. So I started off drawing a rough sketch on paper to get my idea down. Now then I used the basic outlines from this and drew them into Photoshop. I then used the fill tool to turn the war mech orange, and then used brushes to add a silvery blue metal effect, and then I used the burn tool again to add shadows and a bit of highlight onto the war mech. Finally then I used a very fine brush to draw detailed lines which you can just see, so just give it a little bit more depth. From this I went on to the block out stage. I started from the middle of the body by adding different cubes and moving the vertex out to how I would like the body to be. From here I started adding more and more, so I was happy with the basic shape. I only made half the mech as it's going to be symmetrical. Once I got the block out, I went on to creating the low poly, which you can see in this image. So on this slide it shows the low poly model and the UVs of the low poly. I added extra geometry to the block out, such as pipes, vents, cylinders, to add more depth to the war machine. The UVs for the war machine were extremely complex, and I lost a lot of sleepless nights over it. And in the end I had to use 7 UV maps, which is very complicated to do. I tried to keep all the areas in the maps the same. So for example, I put the arms together, the legs together, most of the body together. I had to break the body down into several sections, so the body was like the top part of the body, the back part of the body, then the front part of the body. The problem with the UVs was because there's so many right angles and little vents and indented areas, I had to break it up quite a lot, and it gave me a lot of UV shells, and I wanted it to be quite high quality texture, so to get it all into one map it was not that great quality, so I had to use several maps for that. Texturing, I took the model into Substance. I decided on skipping the high poly model and doing all the high poly detail in Substance. I started off by getting basic colours onto the model, using the polygon select tool and selecting the areas that I wanted to be black and silver. There's a little bit of red in there as well. After that, I then added the high poly details such as the welding, panel detail scratches, stuff that won't be wasn't able to get on the low poly. After this, I used generators to add damage to the edges and oil leaks and a few laser blasts and to the paint. And then to finish it off, I used stencils to the model to add unique details such as ISS Harlan and warning blasting signs and stuff. For this character or NPC, I created several texture maps, as you can see just below the middle image. For it, I created a base colour, emissive, normal, metallic, roughness, and an AO map. So it's got all the recommended maps. Then onto the look dev. For this, I imported the model and textures into Mamo Set Toolbag 3, and then I added all the materials. Then I added 3 lights: a full light, a rim light, and a key light to light up the scene and to add shadows and full depth to it. Took a few renders, which you can see in the images. And after that, I imported it into Unreal just to see how it would look in Unreal as well. And then, to be honest, it looks exactly the same. And that's my presentation. So thanks for watching my presentation about my Unit 2 for character development.